What's up, guys? So welcome back. Banlist prediction April 1st, 2019. A couple of things is that, first of all, do we actually need a list? Do we need a list? I feel that if you're looking at the current top tier decks here in a TCG format, and that's April, well, March, April 2019, it feels that we don't really need a list. Well, there are a couple of cards that, well, they're like the problem cards that can definitely be hit to make the format even healthier. It sounds strange, right? It has been like some time ever since I last pronounced that particular sentence in for Yu-Gi-Oh. But anyway, so the list. Well, this is, for me at least, the first time that I have a lot of picks, a lot of cards here on this. It's not really like a wish list, it's more of a prediction list, but again, Konami, we can't really predict Konami. We have the differences between both TCG and OCG list. That can mean something, but, well, there are huge differences. Let's say Maxi, let's say Dangers, or like from the top of my head, those are some big differences between both TCG and OCG formats, so the hits, let's say the most recent OCG ban list, well, some we can definitely agree on if they would happen in a TCG, while others, probably not, since they aren't really a problem card here in the TCG yet, depending on which card, of course. Let's start off, first of all, with the ban section, and I only have two cards on this, and the first one, it's kinda iffy. It's either the spell or it's either the monster, and the card I eventually went with is Azathoth. Azathoth, well, Orcus is going to be released in the TCG really soon with, their Exceed, their Counter Trap. It's going to be a very strong archetype in the TCG, especially we have Dangers, while the OCG doesn't have Dangers, and that's a crucial factor where probably Orcus will be immediately put to, if it isn't top tier status already, it's of course a very solid deck, but with, Jingrisu being released, the Counter Trap from Orcus being released, and Dangerous legal, it's going to be a massive deck. And with Azathoth still legal, or if Azathoth would still be legal, ooh, this could be like a huge problem. But again, like the other, from another standpoint, looking at from another point of view, you can definitely hit the PK rank up spell card. But there are arguments for both. For both, at least from both points of view. So either Azathoth or the spell card. The second card here is a card that initially I didn't have on my radar, I guess, but with the OCG recently hitting it, or at least banning it, right? With Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon being banned in the OCG. But again, differences between both ban lists. They have Tempest legal at one, they had, the FTK, the Gandora FTK legal, with of course the differences between the Gandora ruling there and the TCG ruling over here, if I'm not mistaken. So there are some differences, but that nonetheless, Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon is a very powerful card, not once per turn, a sentence that falls back to, or can be put on a couple of cards here, mentioned here in this particular video, but anyway, so Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon, I don't see this happening yet. It's a very strong card, very powerful card, but looking at guard dragons and their presence in the current TCG format, it's still a little bit quite of an underdog position, so probably a bit too soon here for Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. Then the cards going put, or putting 2-1 back to 1, or going to put to 1, might be put to 1, I have to say. The first, and it's well, I can call that like a card series, and I'm looking at three particular cards. Is the Danger Engine, but the big three. I'm looking at Nessie, I'm looking at Jackalope, and Danger Snake. Definitely the three most powerful Danger cards. And is Danger going to get hits? It might, even though it still needs to be released in the OCG and the cards still need to be reprinted, right? So they might get hit in some form, maybe put them to 2, but I mean, maybe hit Nessie, or even maybe hit the Jackalope. Yep, definitely options, or maybe hitting Snake only. Yeah, definitely all options, but I feel that hitting them all three at once, that's not going to happen, but hitting the Danger Engine in some form of way, I feel that TCG Konami is going to do this, but again, we can't predict it, right? We're not sure. But this is one of those things that I feel is definitely going to happen in some way. The second card, it's hard. We have Salamangreat Gazelle, and okay, it's of course very recent deck, very recently released in the TCG. Of course, I'm looking at the OCG as well. Not really. I think the deck completely dodged their most recent list, if I'm not mistaken. But and then I'm looking at the TCG list. Should Salamangreats be hit? Again, kinda iffy, maybe a small hit in their consistency, and as I mentioned before in multiple other videos, is that there aren't really any cards that like stand out speaking or looking at Salamangreats. I'm looking at Gazelle, of course, because of the big tutor card. It's the big tutor card of the deck. I'm looking at it in their consistency engine, like the Rota card is an option, but outside of that, I'm not seeing any other options, if you want to hit Salamangreats, that is, but this is probably not going to happen. Salamangreat Gazelle, but it's up there, right? Maybe not now, but definitely later, in later ban lists, right? Probably post Euros or post-national formats. Another card here being Yugioh. It's also one of those cards that, again, not once per turn, its effect is not once per turn, the draw effect, the special summoning effect, the markers as well, being abused in multiple decks. I mean, it has been involved in multiple FTKs already, and it's just a matter of time that this card will be abused eventually again, if it's not limited. Banned, I don't think so, but it's just a very solid Link 4 monster, so just that one is fine, because again, not once per turn, right? And it will just be a matter of time again, this card will eventually be abused, and I'm looking at the Danger Engine again. Another card here is, it feels like quite of an underdog card, and that's Phantom Skyblaster. I feel it's just a matter of time. I'm looking at the other, or at least one of the new OCG archetypes coming out in the OCG, of course, being Tianwei. You know, Tianwei, the small dragon ruler-alike archetype with their special summoning effects, etc., being focused on the normal monsters or non-effect monsters. I have to say, Skyblaster is superb in that particular archetype. I'm looking at Thunders here in the TCG format, where Phantom Skyblaster is a superb, well, with dangers as well. So it's. And I'm looking at its colleagues, I'm looking at Scapegoat, I'm looking at, what is it called, the Exceed, Tomahawk. It's just, maybe not now, but it's inevitable. It's a matter of time that Phantom Skyblaster eventually will get hit in some form of way, and then, you know, putting it 2-1 feels quite okay, or am I wrong here, right? That's definitely possible. The last one I have on the list here is one of those cards that, as I think I mentioned in the beginning, is that this is the first time I feel with these Banlist prediction videos, is that Konami is going to finally release cards that should have been released, or, well, you know, have been, or being unlimited or whatever, being put off of the list for a very long time now. And we have seen from a most previous list with Sherlock Construct, with Shurit, with finally the wind-up cards being unlimited, I guess. I'm looking at Wind Up Magician, if I'm not mistaken. The first one here is Wind Up Carriers and Mighty. I believe this one is at 3 in the OCG, not really sure about this. And again, it's one of those cards slash archetypes that, even though it's almost at full power in the OCG, the deck isn't really doing anything. And it might not be the same, you know, because of next Z, right? It's all the differences, but Zen Mighty 2-1, it might happen, but probably not. But it's one of those cards that, well, why not, right? It's going to spice up the format. Next, cards going to 2. A very short list. We have Shurit. Necros isn't really going to do anything. Well, with incantations, okay, we have seen some, well, tops, maybe regionals level. YCS top, sadly not yet. A couple of decks really close, bubbling out, so not making it to the top, let's say top 32 or top 16 cutoff, but giving, well, Necros, well, they got back Brionec, 3 Brionec in the TCG, they got back Shurit, 2 Shurit, might happen. But it's one of those changes that probably is not going to happen. Konami TCG will just put or keep Shurit at 1, I feel. The second one is a little bit personal bias, but with the most recent, well, Stormfort has been limited in the TCG, you can play it at 3. Again, it's not really doing anything, even True Dracos isn't really using multiple or, well, like Stormfort at 3. And that, well, maybe opens up the way for Pantheism to be put to 2, or this, well, again, personal bias might be just a little bit wishful thinking, but again, I'm looking at the OCG format. Monarchs, correct me if I'm wrong, they're at full power? No, triple Aether, triple Stormfort, triple Pantheism. The deck isn't doing anything, but again, we have to keep in mind the difference between both lists. But still, Pantheism to 2. This is one of those things that might happen. Shadow Construct, Shadows aren't really doing anything. This is definitely one of those cards that eventually will be put at 3 for the TCG as well. And okay, it might see some play back then, but nah, probably not, right? Especially with, you know, Fairy Tale Snow out of the picture. And then Sky Strikers is one of those decks that, back in, at least in the OCG now, it's fallen off of the radar. You know, Kagari was put to 1, Engage was put to 2, if I'm not mistaken, in the OCG. But I'm looking at the TCG, it's the best deck, well, next to Salamangreats, both on a top tier level, top tier decks, but them hitting Sky Strikers, it's somewhat of a really old deck as well, almost a year or a little over a year, so an extra hit to Sky Striker next to their token generator, that's definitely an option, or that can definitely happen, right? So Sky Striker, Engage, and Kagari as well. And last, a couple of cards going, at least potentially going back to 3. I only have 2 cards here on this particular list, and well, you can definitely have more cards here in this section, but both Dragonfly and Cleafort Scout, it's basically following the trend that what happened like on our last TCG ban list, with the wind-up cards being back, or putting back, or put back to 3. Yeah, same for Dragonfly, same for Scout, probably not going to do anything, right? And yeah, to close, or you know, just to finalize things here, is something I saw on Reddit. Is like a small, it's not really a contest, but it's something interesting. Is the 90/50/10% prediction? Is that, let's say you can predict, well, let's say I put, and this is my first card here, Azathoth, under the 90% mark. Is that I feel quite sure, like 90% sure, that Azathoth will eventually get hit, but that can be any card. It can be like a card series or whatever that might get hit, but for me it's 90% sure that they will hit Azathoth, or, well, you know, their quick play spell card, right? As for the second card, 50%, and this is again quite iffy. It's also one of those cards that I previously mentioned as well, and I'm looking at Salamangreats, 50-50. The deck might get hit, the deck might not get hit, but if I should name a card here, again, I'm looking at Salamangreat Gazelle. 50% chance it would get hit, or it might get hit, but 50% it won't get hit. The last card, again, also one of those cards that I just mentioned here, is Pantheism. Pantheism of the Monarchs, 10% that we might getting this card back in the TCG, or, you know, back to 2, but it probably won't happen. So what's your list? Again, feel free to leave it down below. Your 90, 50 and 10%-ish list, or other predictions, right? Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching, and feel free to leave a comment or like if you enjoyed the video. Lead them signing out. Peace.